Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasuni Balachandra.
Good evening, I'm Clifford Richards. First of all, we take a look at the headlines. The Colombo Business Association expresses its full support to the Port City project. The Justice Minister emphasizes that the Port City draft bill is according to the laws of the country. The second term of schools will begin tomorrow. Sri Lanka wins a bronze medal at the Asian Weightlifting Championship. The US faces the highest risk stage of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Moving on to those and other stories in detail. Colombo Business Association says that Colombo Port City project is a turning point of the economy in the country. They mentioned this during a media briefing in Colombo today. Chairman of the Colombo Business Association, Arya Sheila Vikramanayake, said that the need is to keep the Port City Commission under the government's administration. It is the hope of all stakeholders. There was a Colombo Port Commission in 1970 which was 100% under the government. Therefore, this is not a new thing. Secretary to the Colombo Business Association, Shaminda Vidanagamage, said that the Colombo Business Association will oppose first if there is any harm. However, there is no harm done by this. This will create many opportunities in the country to the businessmen. This will create a large market. The investors who come to Port City will compete with the world. Through that, our entrepreneurs and producers will get the marketplace. The tourism industry will develop in a large scale. Those who have not made any investment in the country are opposing this. He said that all those who are favouring and opposing this should come together and correct if there are any shortcomings. When good projects are proposed, there is always opposition. He said that they make many sacrifices to find foreign markets for local products. This has brought the market to the country. The local economy can be developed through business opportunities and direct and indirect employment opportunities. Mr. Vidanagamage said that they would give the necessary support together with all business communities in the country. Investment opportunities will be available not only to China but also for Sri Lankan investors. Investors of any country will get the opportunity to invest.
Justice Minister Ali Sabri emphasizes that the Colombo Port City draft bill is in line with the country's laws. He mentioned this during a media briefing in Colombo today. Justice Minister Ali Sabri said that the total development zone is 269 hectares. 91 hectares are for common facilities and those cannot be sold. 116 hectares or 43% are for the project company. If they have not signed this in 2013, invested $1.4 billion, this will be still a part of the sea. Their benefit is 43% of the land area since any investor expects a return. The minister said 100% of the land belongs to the government. It is not to say that the land has been given to another party. At present, this part has been affiliated to the Colombo district under the Administrative District Act. The Urban Development Authority takes action in this regard. The agreement has been signed by the Ministry of Western and Megapolis Urban Development Authority and the Port City Company. The development commenced according to that. More land has to be given for the development company since it took more than 1 year. The 43% has been leased out for 99 years. The Urban Development Authority has to sign if they sublease the area. Accordingly, all activities are taking place under the government's administration. Minister Ali Sabri said that therefore, it is not true to say that only the Chinese company can make investments. Anyone can make investments in this area. That is how other countries in the world have developed. Sri Lanka's laws are completely applied for this. A commission will be established to administer the complete act. The commission will consist of 5 or 7 members. The president will make the appointments. He has the power to sack them under the 9th clause of the Act. The Justice Minister said that this will be a turning point or development of the country which should be celebrated. The project will bring investors to the country as well as creating competition among investors.
State Minister Ajit Nivard Khabral says that the Colombo Port City has been gazetted as a land area belonging to the country and all its activities are conducted under the laws of the country. The State Minister mentioned this to media after calling over on the Mahanayaka Theros of Malwatu and Askari chapters this morning. State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral visited Malwatu and Askari Mahaviharats this morning on the instructions of the President and the Prime Minister and briefed the Mahanayaka Theros on the functions of the port city. The State Minister first called over on the Mahanayaka of Malwatu chapter, the Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thera. He said that the steps taken by the government to brief them is appreciated since various opinions are expressed about the port city. The State Minister also called over on the Mahanayak of Askari chapter, Most Venerable Varakaguda Sri Jnanaratna Thera, and briefed him about the port city. Venerable Gudavela Mangala Thera, State Minister Lohan Ratwata and MP Vasantayapa Bandar were present on this occasion. State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral said that 83,000 jobs will be created by the port city. They will be paid in foreign currency. He pointed out that most of the people believe that local workers should not be sent overseas and they must be provided employment opportunities in the country. Accordingly, opportunities such as these are important to the country. This will be a turning point in the country. It will create a change, but certain groups do not like the development of the country. State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral met chairman of the Amarapura Sangha Sabha Venerable Gantune Assajithera and handed over a copy of the Port City draft bill. State Minister Kanaka Herath was present on this occasion.
Meanwhile, Minister Kehelia Rambukwala says that there is a political hand behind the accusations levelled against the Colombo Port City project. He mentioned this during a media briefing held in Kandy today. Minister Kehelia Rambukwala said that the US ambassador has mentioned that black money can be brought through this. The minister said that he questions the ambassador about the 1.8 trillion investment of the US in Cayman Islands. He said that he would like to question her about the 1.6 trillion investment in Luxembourg. The minister said that all statements of the US ambassador are contradictory. Minister Rambukwala said that he believes that there is a political hand behind this. He also said that the people in the country know well about the true and false statements of Dr. Vijayadas Rajapaksa.
The National Organizations Collective says that certain groups are trying to meet the aspirations of certain countries by publicizing fake news in connection with the Colombo Port City project. They said that during a media briefing held in Colombo today. Attorney at law Kalyanand Thiranagam of National Organizations Collective said that it has not been mentioned that Chinese nationals should be appointed. It has also not been mentioned that Chinese nationals will be given special privileges. This will be established by an act of parliament. The administration is entrusted with the parliament. This will not harm sovereignty and franchise of the people. The second school term will commence tomorrow. Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Professor Kapila Pereira, says that schools will open according to health guidelines and circulars and advice issued by the ministry earlier. The first term of the schools this year ended on 9th of April. All government and private schools will open for the second term for academic activities tomorrow. The Ministry of Education says that students should be brought down in groups according to the circulars issued earlier. Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Professor Kapila Pereira, said that it is the responsibility of everyone to follow health guidelines. Everyone in the country cooperated and acted with commitment. He said that education of the country can be maintained through such dedication. Our reporter said that preparing of schools for the new term was seen today. Academic activities of Dhamma schools, which were closed due to coronavirus risk in the Western province, were recommenced today following health protective measures.
Now, looking at the pandemic situation across the globe, in India, more than 261,000 new COVID-19 cases were reported in India in the past 24 hours, recording the highest ever single-day spike since the pandemic started in the country. Meanwhile, India's capital, New Delhi, recorded 24,000 coronavirus cases yesterday and is facing an acute shortage of hospital beds, its chief minister confirmed.
New Delhi is facing an acute shortage of hospital beds as coronavirus cases spike higher. New Delhi Chief Arvind Kejriwal said on Saturday that oxygen is in short supply.
केसेस 19,500 से बढ़ के 24,000 हो
The cases have reached 24,000 from 19,500 in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is more than 24%, so the situation is very serious and worrying. Now there's a shortage of oxygen and remdesivir in Delhi.
India's capital is among the country's worst-hit cities. It has imposed a weekend curfew. The country itself is facing a second wave, and that's straining the health infrastructure. India recorded more than 200,000 cases for a third day on Saturday. The total number of cases of nearly 14.5 million is second only to the U.S. But despite reports of shortages of hospital beds and vaccine doses, religious festivals and election rallies continue on, and criticism is mounting over how Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government is handling the crisis.
Now, Australia is in no hurry to reopen its international borders and risk the country's nearly coronavirus life, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said today.
Australia is in no rush to reopen its international borders, said the country's Prime Minister Scott Morrison on Sunday. The borders have been closed to all non-citizens and non-residents since March last year. Australian citizens and permanent residents cannot leave the country due to coronavirus restrictions unless they have an exemption. Returning Australians from overseas also have to quarantine in hotels for 2 weeks at their own expense.
And I can assure Australians that I will not be putting at risk the way we are living in this country, which is so different to the rest of the world today.
Last week, Morrison said they were considering a staggered reopening of its international borders to allow residents who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 to travel abroad first. Australia is one of the world's most successful countries to have handled the pandemic, with coronavirus cases of around 29,000 in total. But its nationwide vaccine rollout has been a hot political topic, a source of tension between the states and federal government. Australia had banked on the AstraZeneca vaccine for the majority of its shots, but last week raced to double its Pfizer vaccine order. That followed advice that people under the age of 15 should take Pfizer's vaccine, after European regulators found possible links between AstraZeneca's shot and reports of rare cases of blood clots. The government has since abandoned a goal to vaccinate everyone by the end of 2021.
And now heading into the US, things are quite different there. At least 21 states have recorded at least a 10% rise in daily average positive cases of COVID-19, demonstrating that the fight against the pandemic is far from over in the United States. More than 670 new coronavirus deaths and 52,000 new cases were reported in the United States yesterday. The United States remains the worst hit country in the world with the most caseload and related death toll. States and local officials across the country are attempting to avoid another spike in cases and are pushing to increase vaccination levels among adults, which shows continuing signs of improvement. More than 30% of U.S. adults have been fully vaccinated. However, over the past week, there has been an average of 68,400 cases per day, an increase of 5% from the average 2 weeks earlier. The country is averaging about 71,000 cases a day, about 16,000 more than a month ago. Michigan is in the midst of an alarming surge that is far worse than what any state is experiencing. The state accounts for more than 10% of the country's daily cases. And coming back home, with regard to New Year festivities, the final auspicious time in this year's Sinhala and Tamil New Year, which is leaving for employment, is scheduled tomorrow. The New Year auspicious timetable says that it is suitable to leave for employment at 6:39 a.m. tomorrow, facing south, dressed in white, after partaking milk rice and sweetmeats.
Farmers in Ampara, Namaloya and Uhana Divisional Secretariat areas say that they were able to receive a sound income from turmeric cultivation. Turmeric has been cultivated in 1,000 acres of Namaloya and Ohana Divisional Secretariat areas. They said that they received a high income from turmeric cultivation this time. It is reported that the total income of the farmers has exceeded more than 250 million rupees. Farmers say they were able to sell a kilogram of seed turmeric for 400 rupees and a normal kilogram of turmeric for 380 rupees in the first week of April. Meanwhile, Ampara District Coordinating Committee Chairman, Parliamentarian W.D. Veera Singha visited the area today to look into the cultivations of turmeric farmers.
We're now moving on to Little England Norelia. Sundara Norelia Salalini Vasante is being held successfully. It has been organized by the Norelia Municipal Council with the media sponsorship of Rupavahini Corporation. The New Year rituals are being performed throughout Norelia in parallel to the Sundara Norelia Salalini Vasante. The national television has given live telecast on the oil anointing New Year ritual at the auspicious time of 7:16 last morning. The ceremony in this connection has taken place at the International Buddhist Center in the Norelia town. The ritual was performed facing the southern direction and dressed in blue-colored clothing and engaged in bathing using naan mixed with nuga leaves on the head and also karanda leaves under the feet. The national television is ready to continuously telecast all activities taking place at the Sundara Norelia Salalini Vasante program. The corporation cordially invites viewers to attend this momentous occasion. Welcome back. Heading into the world of sport, Sri Lanka wins the bronze medal. Yes, Isuru Kumara wins the bronze medal at the Asian Weightlifting Championship today. This is the first medal won by Sri Lanka in the history of the Asian Weightlifting Championships. Well, this competition is taking place in Uzbekistan. Dilanka Isuru Kumara represented the 55 kilo weight category. He lifted 102 kilos under the snatch system. He lifted 137 kilos under clean and jerk system. Accordingly, he won the silver medal in clean and jerk event. He was able to win a bronze medal at the Asian Weightlifting Championship in 2019. Dilanka Isuru lifted a total of 241 kilos today. He won the bronze medal, and it is the highest performance showed by a Sri Lankan sportsman in an Asian weightlifting championship. Well, that was a nice way of celebrating the victory as well. That's the end of the news. Do enjoy the rest of the programs. Take care and good night.
Good night.